Absolutely. So it's a condition of employment that hasn't been met, and the employer choosing to terminate someone for that reason would make that person ineligible for EI.
That is Employment Minister Carla Qualtrough on the show yesterday. Her comments made some people question whether or not employees fired for refusing to get vaccinated are eligible for employment insurance. Paul Champ is an employment and human rights lawyer. He's in Ottawa. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining us. You heard what the minister told my colleague Katie Simpson yesterday. What do you make of what she said? Can someone be denied EI because they refuse to follow an employer's vaccine mandate?
I think there's no question that an employee can be terminated for it, but can they be denied employment insurance benefits? I disagree with the minister. The provisions in the EI Act say that people are disentitled to benefits if they're terminated for misconduct. And I think refusing or declining to get a vaccine in most workplaces is not misconduct. And so I disagree with her. And I also think it's problematic that the minister would comment on that when really that's an issue that should be determined by the Social Security Tribunal.
She said this isn't yet public policy, but it is the advice that she's been receiving, and it is something she would push for in cabinet. What would your advice be to her?
Well, I mean, if it's a matter of policy, if they want to strip people from EI benefits, they can do that by statute. They could amend the EI Act and make it clear that they want to deny EI benefits. But the way it's worded right now, it's about being denied benefits if you are guilty of misconduct. And it's very arguable in employment law that in most circumstances that would not be misconduct to refuse. And I mean, I don't want to be confused with defending people who are refusing vaccines. I don't think there's any good reason to refuse a vaccine. But at the end of the day, it's that person's body. And to say it's misconduct to refuse, I think is a bit of a stretch under the Act.
It is a condition, or, in theory, would be a condition of employment, though, right? Which is the right of the employer to set those conditions, correct?
Yeah,
is that not failing to fulfill that condition, and therefore,
Well, in employment law, conditions of employment are set out when you're hired. So if an employer is hiring someone and they say it's a condition of employment at that time, then it's fair. But if you're already working and it wasn't a condition of employment, then an employer cannot unilaterally change conditions of employment and just keep rolling along. That's viewed as constructive dismissal. Now, there are some workplaces where vaccines are already required. Most healthcare sector, hospitals, and so forth already have requirements for all kinds of different vaccines. So, it apply differently in those circumstances. But, at the end of the day, there's other options for some employers. Some employers are doing telework. There's rapid testing. I'm not necessarily saying I support those. I just don't think it's misconduct for an employee to refuse when it's a new term and condition of employment.
So if you say this is up to the Employment Insurance Commission and the Social Security Tribunal to determine what they consider when it comes to a person who was let go for refusing to get vaccinated, get employment insurance, is that as I understand your position?
Yeah, it is. And my concern here is that it's not really the minister's role to be saying how an act or statute should be interpreted. That's for the quasi-judicial bodies to do, or the courts. It's in the same way if a matter is before the courts and the minister was commenting how she feels a judge should rule, I think that's inappropriate for a cabinet minister. It's, Parliament writes the laws and we have administrative tribunals and courts that interpret them. And that's who we should leave these issues up to right now.
That said, I'll throw it back at you in terms of anticipating. Where do you think this ends up for everybody sort of watching who might wonder what they would do and what the repercussions would be? Where does this land in the end, do you think?
Well, make no mistake, the advice that I'm telling people who are coming to me is get vaccinated. Speak to your doctor if you have any concerns, but get vaccinated. But, for those people who do refuse, I tell them they should expect that they're going to be terminated, but they should qualify for EI in the circumstances. So we'll see what the Social Security Tribunal says in those cases, but right now I think the minister's off base.
And indeed, I was just going to put that to you as well. Your bottom line is she was out of line with these comments, correct?
Yeah, she was out of line. I mean, it is definitely open to Parliament and Cabinet to pass amendments to the EI Act. Like they did that with the CERB. that people who travel knowing that they're going to then be subject to quarantine should not be able to collect the CERB. In the same way, if they really want to strip people from EI because they refuse a vaccine, they can do that, but they have to do it by passing a law. They shouldn't be suggesting or telling quasi-judicial tribunals or courts how they should interpret the law as it stands now.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep, that's Paul Champ in Ottawa.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.